trying something else out today. Really pushing my computer, I think. I'm live in my community on Circle. I'm live on TikTok, and I'm live on YouTube and Twitter all at the same time. So this might come crashing down, but so far the Mac seems okay. It hasn't heated up to the power of the sun, but let's see how it goes over the next hour or so. Good morning, TikTok. How are you? Okay, I can see the chat there. I can see the chat there. I think we're okay. Where? Oops, Daisy. Where's the chat for? Oh, here we go. Comments and reactions. And there's the chat for Twitter. So I now have 3 different things. There we go. I need more screens. I need more screens. This is getting mad. Okay, that should be fine. Right, let's kick off. Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, the 3rd of December, and we're going to be covering the latest AI news and updates of the day. Got a few things happening right now. There is the code red from OpenAI that we're going to cover again. And then looking at the release of a new European model, Mistral, and some other bits and pieces to do with AI art as well. I'm actually going to... Oh no, that's fine. I'm going to show you something very cool with Mistral. So a lot of people are dunking on Mistral, and I think for good reason. We're going to talk about why. But they do have a very cool in-browser like mini model, which can watch what you're doing on your webcam, it can watch what you're doing on your screen, and it can in real time comment. So I'm going to be demonstrating that just to add to the CPU, the GPU chaos that I'm currently causing my computer right now. But let's hop into everything. So we have a code red at OpenAI. I covered this yesterday. There's been a few more details about exactly what is happening. Basically, Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI, the creator of ChatGPT, sent out an internal memo saying, hey, code red, this is a problem. We are in a situation that we did not want to be in. We've been caught with our pants down, basically, and we need to work out what's going on. This is very interesting because a couple of years ago, Google were in this exact situation. So a couple of years ago, Google was sitting on the technology for Lambda. They had large language models. They had dominated artificial intelligence for years through Google DeepMind, for example, with AlphaFold, AlphaGo, AlphaZero, etc. Like a lot of very exciting artificial intelligence technology. But ChatGPT stole the march on them. They released into the public potentially before they were ready, and they stole the public's attention and basically became synonymous with artificial intelligence, for better or worse. That means that Google have, for the last couple of years, been playing catch-up, and OpenAI have basically had free rein to do whatever they wanted. That changed last week, or 2 weeks ago, because we had the release of Gemini 3. And suddenly, the lack of focus at OpenAI, the fact that they release all these different functions, all of these different cool tools, came into stark contrast when suddenly another company could match them on their core product, which is the large language model, the chatbot that we use on a daily basis. So I'm going to use Chubby's, or Kimonos, I've never said it out loud, Kimonos Chubby on Twitter, who breaks a lot of news. I'm going to use this as a framework to discuss this. So OpenAI Sam Altman declares a code red new reasoning model ahead of Gemini 3 next week. Ahead as in it should be better than Gemini 3. So this is the rumor that is circulating that next week OpenAI are going to release a new model. Whether it's going to be 5.2, whether it's going to be 5.5, I doubt it will be GPT-6, but they are going to be releasing something new, a reasoning model, which is meant to blow Gemini 3 out of the water. We'll see. So code red, all in on ChatGPT. Altman is pausing ads, AI agents, and Pulse. Oh, I forgot about Pulse. To reallocate people and compute into fixing and upgrading ChatGPT as competition from Google and others intensify. So they were about to release adverts, and we started to see early code snippets, API endpoints appearing in the Android app. It looks like that has been placed on hold for now, as well as any other new product releases. I know they were working on things like a health assistant. I think that's been paused. AI agents has been paused. Pulse, everything has been put on pause while they get on top of their main core product, which is ChatGPT, making sure it is the best chat in the world. That is something that they have lost over the last couple of weeks, first to Gemini 3 and then to Claude Opus 4.5. I'm sure that internally at OpenAI, though, Gemini is more of a threat. Google is more of a threat. So new reasoning models. OpenAI plans to ship a new reasoning model next week that it says scores ahead of Google Gemini 3 in internal tests, powering features like thinking and deep research. Great, so a better model. Product experience over monetization for now. Ad experiments, including shopping ads, continue in the background, but full rollout is delayed so that the team can first improve core user experience and personalization for their 800 million weekly users. Key upgrade areas include focus on better personalization. Interesting. That's something they've been focusing on since the release of 5, because there was a lot of pushback from the people who liked 4.0. So OpenAI went out of their way to add these personalization options into ChatGPT, the ability to change its personality, the ability to change how it interacts with you. It looks like they're doing more of that. I'm not sure if that's going to save them. Faster and more reliable responses. That's fine. 5.1 is pretty fast, honestly, the quick mode. Fewer unnecessary refusals. Okay, that's interesting. After the court cases and the suicides, they added a lot more safeguards. And the safeguards are a little bit overzealous sometimes. So people were posting examples of, I think the famous one was somebody was asking how to melt chocolate so that they could put it in a dessert. And ChatGPT sent them some suicide hotline resources instead of telling them how to melt chocolate. So sometimes it overblows. This apparently annoys people. I think that they are blowing it out of context, blowing it out of all proportion, and they're just using it as a way to say, oh, ChatGPT, OpenAI is too censored and you can't do what you want with it. You can do pretty much what you want with it. But I think anyone who gets any sniff of censorship, any sniff of kind of control, they go hard on it, and they kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater in the same way that people do with DeepSeek. They go onto DeepSeek and they immediately ask it about Tiananmen Square. And it's like, well, how often are you thinking about Tiananmen Square in your day-to-day activities? You don't. You are just doing this to get a response that you want from that model, so that you can say, oh, it's censored, I hate this. And people have been doing this with ChatGPT as well. Imogen arms race. Image generation is named priority after Google's Nano Banana Pro launched to strong reviews. Oof, good luck. OpenAI wants ChatGPT's Imogen to stay competitive for creative and commercial use cases. Image gen, sorry. So I'm not sure if they're going to be able to manage that. Nano Banana Pro and Nano Banana. We actually looked at a chart the other day which shows the, let me see if I can pull it up. No, I don't think so. A chart which showed the growth of downloads of Gemini, and it absolutely spiked. And lots of people have been passing around this chart saying, look, Gemini's catching up. The spike is after Nano Banana. The spike is not because of the large language model. People don't care that much about Gemini as a large language model. They care about Nano Banana. So Nano Banana is what has shot the usage of Gemini through the roof. And people are still using it. Nano Banana Pro is even better. ChatGPT or OpenAI has an image generation model, but it's crap compared to what Google have. It's bad compared to what XAI have. Grok has a better image generation model. So for them to play catch up and quickly release something, it would be a huge coup, because it brings in the public, it brings in people who are excited to use image and video. It's really good for having a viral moment. This is what Sora is really good at, because people share the videos, and that makes OpenAI look like a very important, a very popular company, because it's something that can be shared in a way that language prompts and text cannot. It's just not very exciting to share. However, Google have a massive advantage here in that they own Google Images. They have been cataloging the internet's images, the world's images, for the last few decades in a way that no other company has. Meta have cataloged photos of people, photos of dogs, and photos of food from Facebook and Instagram, but Google has cataloged everything. and they have it all tagged. They have it nicely labeled. They have the ability to use semantic search to search for images using text. And this stuff is really valuable if you are going to train a model. This is why Google is so far ahead in terms of image generation. So I don't see ChatGPT beating them next week with an image model. Maybe I'll be surprised, but that would be a huge coup if they can pull that off. So they are in a panic mode. And as I talked about yesterday, I think what's happened is for the last few years, they've been on top and they've become a bit complacent. They thought they were so far ahead that there was no way anybody was going to catch up. And that has allowed them to get into a position where they are now, where suddenly they have Gemini, Google, and Anthropic's Claude biting at their heels. They also have DeepSeek and the Chinese models releasing open source versions, which are being used to develop applications and being used because the API is 10 to 20 times cheaper. And then suddenly OpenAI are not looking like they're sitting as pretty as they thought they were before. This is a problem because they need to raise money and they need to be the paramount company. They need to be the one who are leading the charge in order to keep getting that cash. And if they don't, the whole thing collapses because they're not making money. They do not generate enough revenue, and they certainly don't generate enough profit to make this a sustainable venture. And they're eyeing an IPO in 2026, 2027. So this is why we've got the code red. They have bumped into competition they did not think existed. They should have known it was coming, but I think they probably sat on their laurels for far too long, and now they've had a rude wake-up call. Tracy says, Nano Banana Pro is amazing. I prefer to even use Grok than OpenAI. Yeah. So bless ChatGPT, it's terrible image gen. So I actually saw something fascinating. I'm going to jump to it because it was very interesting. You know, there's whenever you use the image generation in ChatGPT, it has this weird yellow color. People have called it the piss filter, which is mean, but I think quite accurate. It has this weird yellow color, and people have for months been like, why is it yellow? Why has it got that color? And actually, I went down this rabbit hole yesterday of like, why does it look like that? I've never thought about it. And I saw Ethan Mollick was tweeting about it and asking people like, does anyone know why? And I found this tweet, which I'm actually going to read out. It's from somebody who talked to the team that were responsible for the data going into the model. So I will have a look at this. So after talking to some people I know, I think I have a clearer understanding of what happened, why OpenAI's images are yellow. When OpenAI released its image generation feature, which quickly went viral, remember the Studio Ghibli moment, they were swamped with demand. This created a perfect opportunity for them to purchase large amounts of labeled data to improve their image generation capabilities. So this is what Google have that OpenAI do not. Google have all of this image data via Google Image. They've already cataloged it, it's already labeled, it's already good for training, whereas OpenAI have to go and purchase it or scrape it from Google Image, basically go nick it. So here's how the data label processing typically works. Taskers from lower income countries such as Argentina or the Philippines are assigned random tasks. These tasks vary in nature and the taskers are paid per task, similar to how platforms like Mechanical Turk work. So basically micro tasks, which are split up over thousands of different workers. Each person is paid, I don't know, 5 cents for each task that they do. And it could be data labeling, it could be matching images up, but you use humans basically and you pay them a very small amount per task, and they do thousands of tasks a day in order to train your artificial intelligences. Now, when it comes to the image generation process, the image is generally provided as part of the prompt. It can either be an input by the user or be attached as a response with an ideal image. To clarify, the training data is not manually created. There are no prompts instructing taskers to use tools like Photoshop to generate images. So this is confusing because he's using the word prompt here, but these human beings are being asked to complete tasks in a way that an AI would. And then we're using the results of the human generation, the human creation, to train the AI. So they're being given a prompt. The humans are being given a prompt like, hey, give me an image of a Studio Ghibli style bus. And they're not going and making that Studio Ghibli style bus image in Photoshop. That would require too much skill, that would cost too much to do. So instead, they're going and finding similar images. So instead, the model is trained on images sourced from the internet. So they will go and they will basically Google Studio Ghibli bus in Google Image and pull that into the Mechanical Turk task, or the equivalent. However, sometimes taskers ended up using images generated by ChatGPT itself. In those cases, ChatGPT essentially consumes its own generated images. So let's do this. Let's do Studio Ghibli bus, the example. Okay, there are some real ones here, but let's see. Okay, these are all real. I think they're all real. Probably because something actually exists, which is Studio Ghibli bus. Let's do Studio Ghibli catamaran. I don't know where that came from. Okay, these are non-synthetic, or these are not AI generated. So this example is not working. Unless these are AI generated and I don't know the difference. That is a possibility. But what was happening was these task people, human beings, were going and finding images on the internet. But because ChatGPT was having a moment and there was already lots of ChatGPT generated images out there, a lot of the time they were finding a ChatGPT image and then feeding it back in to ChatGPT as a new training data. Without proper safeguards, and particularly when these images are fed into the training process without interacting with the loss function for image generation, the model's weights can shift in favor of those images. This is because there's limited data available for text-to-image generation, which can lead to a potential bias towards those types of images. So if there were lots of ChatGPT-generated images were being fed into ChatGPT, the training pushes the model as a whole towards generating those kind of images. So the virality of Ghibli-style image generations made ChatGPT's image generation capabilities widely known. That was their moment when people were like, oh, wow, this is awesome. And everybody and their mother was generating these images. As a result, many taskers started answering tasks, often based on real user requests, by generating images with ChatGPT itself. These generated images became part of the training data, but this process is called synthetic data. In this case, it wasn't purposeful synthetic data. Taskers who did this were almost certainly punished, so they got in trouble for doing this, but it happened at a large enough scale that this poisoned the data. The synthetic data went into the model and is now stuck in it. But by the time the crackdown happened, the damage was already done and the data pools were tainted. So the question here is, why did it go yellow? It could have gone in any direction. It could have gone blue. So if enough data was put in that was kind of tinted blue, the synthetic data was tinted blue, that would be used and the model would go in that direction, thinking that this is the best type of image to generate. The fact that it is this kind of weird nostalgic yellow probably is from the fact Studio Ghibli images had a moment, because Studio Ghibli has that kind of warm, nostalgic, autumnal feeling in a lot of their images. So that poisoned the data further and further, which means that all the images we get from ChatGPT now have that kind of yellow. Another issue comes from how they gather data, particularly by scraping Google Images. By conducting keyword searches and scraping images from these sites, they could collect large amounts of data. However, as these sites became increasingly populated with AI-generated images, the scraped data started to become a mix of real and synthetic images. This created another layer of synthetic data being treated as legitimate, like not AI, which can have downstream effects on the model's behavior. One strange outcome of this is that, for some reason, everything now seems to be rendered with a piss-coloured hue. So this is probably the best description I've seen of why ChatGPT has these weird yellow images. And it's to do with ChatGPT training on ChatGPT images. And at some point, this yellow bias was introduced, probably because people were making kind of warm, friendly ChatGPT style images rather than kind of cool blue cyberpunk images. And that started to poison the data because it was being trained on its own images by these human labelers who were basically trying to get paid without doing the work. Unfortunately, now that that's in the model, unless you retrain from scratch and you scrap everything you've done before, you're stuck with that yellow hue. So I thought this was a fascinating post, which is why I wanted to go through it. Oh, this is Lyra from TikTok, by the way. Hey, Lyra. Going to hop over to some questions on TikTok. I'm everywhere now, Lyra. I'm on YouTube. I'm doing this in my community as well to test. It's a technical test to see whether it works in the community. I'll be sending out information about how to join the community as well. It's a free community. But first, we're just seeing whether it works or not. Yeah, the yellow hue. Everybody who's used ChatGPT's image generator knows this. It has this weird yellow, and it's not a nice yellow. It's kind of a greeny. It's kind of gross looking. What happened? Why are people stepping away from ChatGPT, says Duke? Because of Gemini. And Timothy below says, oh yeah, I need to cancel my OpenAI subscription. So the main reason is Gemini. Lots of people have lots of different reasons for being annoyed with ChatGPT. It's a little unfair on ChatGPT just because ChatGPT has become the normal one that we use. It's the default. So because people have been using it for so long, there's a lot of we've had a lot of time to find things that we don't like about it. Whereas when we move to something new, like Gemini or Claude, it's very easy to be like, wow, this is much better, because we are not burdened with the kind of baggage of having used the model for a long time. So it's new, it's exciting, it's novel, and we haven't yet seen the chinks in its armor. So ChatGPT, there are legitimate reasons why people are moving, but I also think there's something new, which is Gemini 3, and people like to move between models. And I 100% think we should test them all out. And Gemini 3 is very, very, very good. But all of this has caused a panic at OpenAI, where they have declared a code red, which is basically we need to secure our main product, make sure it is the best in the world, rather than focusing on all these side projects that we are doing, which has, for the last couple of years, been what they have done. If you take something like Claude by Anthropic, Claude is really good at one or two things. It is a very good work artificial intelligence. It is very good at coding. It doesn't generate images. It doesn't generate video. Its voice mode is a bit rubbish. I don't think it has the ability to video and show. I've never used it anyway. Show it what you can see. So it's very limited in terms of its functionality. But what it does very, very well. Whereas OpenAI have gone the other way, which is have a very good model in the middle, but it's not the best at anything. And then they added lots of different kind of tools and functions and cool kind of toys around the edge of it, which allows them to keep the marketing hype going. It allows them to stay in the news, but it means it looks like their core product, the large language model, has degraded or got to a point where people are willing to move to Gemini. They're willing to move to Claude, DeepSeek, to other alternatives, which has not been the case for the last few years. Personally, I think this is fantastic. Competition is good. We want competition because it means everyone progresses faster, and it's good for us as consumers as well. There's lots of people in chat saying I need to cancel my OpenAI subscription. Me too. Yeah. If it's in temporary chat, it's usually recorded and kept for 30 days. Yeah. There are also very valid concerns about privacy. So with someone like Google, most people have trusted Google with their data for a decade plus, and Google have, for the most part, been pretty good with our data. Yes, they use it to serve adverts, but they haven't been egregiously evil with our data. Their business is built on data. Their business is built on serving us adverts. It's about 70% of their business. But they haven't sold our data off wholesale. We don't really know what OpenAI is going to do with our information. We don't know what they're going to do with advertising and how well they're going to handle our privacy. Whereas with Google, we have a fair idea that they know they can't get away with too much, otherwise they will hemorrhage users. So it's kind of a better the devil you know situation here. Sorry, I know people at OpenAI and Google, and I'm not calling you devils, but if you understand what I mean, it feels safer to be with Google than to be with OpenAI, because OpenAI does not have a proven track record of privacy. If anything, they have a negative track record here. Layla, very interested about the piss-coloured hue. I was wondering why it does that. Sorry, I shouldn't have called it that. Now everyone's calling it. When will ChatGPT 5.2 come out? Probably next week. We don't know if it's going to be 5.2, but there's something being developed, or it's been in development, but they're going to push up the release. It's called Onion, Project Onion. No, sorry, Garlic. It's called Garlic, which seems to be a reference to Gemini being a vampire. I can't think of any other reason why they would call it Garlic. So they're going to use their garlic to ward off Gemini the vampire, which is very strange. Sorry, not onion. Sorry, X is like onion? Are you sure? No, garlic. Love Claude and their focus on a few things. OpenAI should do the same. Yeah, so Claude are hyper-focused. They also don't hype things up. Like even when they released Opus 4.5 last Monday, a week ago, they just kind of said, here we go. It's the new best model in the world. Enjoy. And that's kind of it. Like, if this was OpenAI, they would have a huge conference and they'd be telling us it's the best thing on earth. Same with Google. Google love a big presentation. Claude just kind of drop a tweet saying, oh yeah, Opus 4.5 is ready. Enjoy. They do not, if anything, they undermarket what they're building, because what they build is very, very, very good. We are looking at, let me pull it up. Let's hop it over. So it looks like there's an IPO, an initial public offering for Anthropic in sight as well. Let me get the actual article. So it's in Reuters. Anthropic, oh God, go away adverts. So I just need to kill this. So egregious. This is why we don't use the internet, and we just use AI. There we go. Anthropic plans for an IPO as early as 2026, according to the Financial Times. But this is Reuters I'm looking at. So they have engaged a guy called Wilson Sonsini, not a guy, I'm sorry, that's a company, to prepare for a potential IPO. We know that ChatGPT creators OpenAI are potentially looking at an IPO in probably 2027. It looks like Anthropic will beat them to the punch and do a IPO in 2026. This would be the first big artificial intelligence company that will be doing an IPO. So there's not much in terms of information here. Anthropic, the artificial intelligence startup backed by Google and Amazon, has hired the law firm Wilson Sonsini to prepare for an IPO that could take place as early as 2026. So it is very fast. An IPO would give the company, which operates the AI chatbot Claude, a more efficient way to raise capital and provide leverage for bigger acquisitions through public stock. Interestingly, they just purchased a company called Bun as well, so they might be looking to acquire more stuff. The move comes as AI adoption gains pace, blah, 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 blah. So this is a rumor right now, but they have engaged a legal firm to potentially discuss this. We'll probably see a lot of the independent private AI companies moving in this direction as well. And some people are going to make an awful lot of money by getting in on the bottom floor with this. So yeah, Anthropic are just grinding away in the background, doing really good work, releasing the best models in the world, whereas OpenAI, I think, have got distracted over the last year, and that's why we're seeing them in this red alert mode right now. I'm calling it Onion from now on, yeah. Based on Figma's IPO, this could be crazy. Yeah, Figma's was wild. So I also wonder if they're trying to get off an IPO before before the bubble, I won't say pops, but before there's a deflation or a correction in the market, I wonder if they want to get in quickly, get that IPO sorted, or allow their initial investors to get their cash out, make a lot of money for their employees and their leaders, and then go from there. If you are even thinking about the AI bubble popping, getting an IPO done quickly before that happens is probably the play. I'm sure there are other reasons, but it would not be a bad idea. Oh, we've got stuff about video games. Yeah, let's talk about Mistral. Poor Mistral. So Mistral is an EU-based AI model. There are not many. I struggle to think of any apart from Mistral. Mistral is French-based. Mistral, the word, I think is it's like a cold wind that they get in the south of France or something. So it was a lovely name. So they released Mistral 3. And it is this is very mean. It achieves state-of-the-art results amongst open European models. This is very mean. Analysts say it now sits within striking distance of GPT-4 and is finally catching up to DeepSeek from 2023. That's very mean. But let's go over to artificial analysis where we can actually see where it stacks up. Basically, they've released a model though, which is, here it is, Mistral 3 large down here. Mistral 3 is it's not very good. It's not very intelligent. It is not very fast, and it is very expensive to use. So normally with a model, you'd either want it to be high quality, cheap, or fast, and you kind of want two of the three. They've managed to hit none of those. So it is expensive, it's not very fast, and it is not very intelligent, which is a bit sad, because it's just kind of underlining that the EU, Europe, is not in this game anymore. We do not have enough money to spend on training models that can compete with America, with companies like Google, companies like OpenAI, or with China, companies like DeepSeek. We're just not there. So it does make you kind of wonder, well, why build anything at all? So yeah, it's not very good, unfortunately. It is, however, open source, and there is one thing I wanted to point out which is really cool, and I wanted to bring this up. They have a really small model. It's a dense model, they're calling it, not a small model, a 3B. So 3B is 3 billion parameters, so it's a very small model. Very interestingly, it can run, oh, here we go. Surprisingly, 3B is small enough to run 100% locally in your browser. So I've actually got it up and running. I don't know if this is going to explode my computer running alongside all of the other camera stuff I'm doing. There we go. You can see me on screen. It can do, this is running in my browser. So the image depicts an individual speaking into two microphones. No, but that's fine. With their left hand, a man speaking into two microphones set up against the background of a bookshelf, suggesting he's recording. Right, stop going so fast. So we can ask questions. What does the man look like? I'm not sure if I can. There we go. The man appears to be an adult with short, dark brown hair, Caucasian male, light-coloured shirt, speaking into a microphone indoors. Is he handsome? Let's ask. No. Subjective perception varies, but many viewers might find him attractive due to his facial features and expression. I like that. Let's see if it can do. What is his facial expression? So let's do like Appears intense, exaggeratedly dramatic with wide open mouth and raised arms as if he was shouting. Cool. So broad, cheerful smile, slightly raised cheeks and eyes looking happily. I don't know why it's so fast. I wish it wouldn't do it so quickly. There we go. And an open mouth. Contemplative or slightly surprised, with raised eyebrows. So it is doing all of this live. It is also doing this inside of my browser. So this is a large language model that's running locally, not just on my computer, but inside of my browser. So it's a very small, very dense model. So really, really cool applications of this, running on telephones, running in your browser. I can imagine building lots of different things with this. So Mistral, this is called Ministral. So this is definitely worth checking out because I think this is very cool. It's also open source, so you can build stuff with it. Here we go. So if you go to Hugging Face, or if you just Google Ministral 3B Web GPU, they have this demo. So Frontier Multimodal AI running entirely in your browser, powered by Ministral 3B. Oh, so it's Mistral 3B, 3 billion parameters. So load model, download the optimized Ministral model. It's about 3 gigabytes directly into your browser cache. So it hasn't even put it on my computer. It's just in the cache of my Chrome. Great way to slow down Chrome even more. Private and local. Your video feed is processed locally and never set into a transformer. And real-time vision. So we could use this for so many cool things. Remember yesterday I showed you kind of a jokey video of some Chinese parents that had set up, I think it was DeepSeek or Quen, they'd set it up in the video mode monitoring their child, and every time he like slumped or he got distracted or played with the iPad, it would say, hey, sit up straight, get back to work, like you need to finish your homework. You could do something similar, not necessarily scolding children, but with posture control. So imagine if I'm sitting at my desk all day, I'm going to like drop my posture eventually. You could have a little mini model like this in your computer, which just pings you in a little application. It's like, hey, sit up. Really very basic, very lightweight use of a large language model, which you could build. I mean, I could build that today and have that running on my desktop as just a little tool. Lots of like business applications and personal applications of something so lightweight that is also open source. So I think this is the interesting stuff that they're doing, rather than trying to compete with Gemini 3 Pro and the thinking models, etc. It's the kind of lightweight edge case applications, being able to run models on your telephone, being able to run them in the browser. I think that's really exciting. So congratulations to the team for that. And ignore everyone else being a bit mean. Like Theo here says, it's dumber than DeepSeek, 3 times more expensive than DeepSeek, and slower than GPT-5. It is unfortunate they released a day after the new DeepSeek model, which is also open source. That is that's bad timing. Sorry, guys. Sad news about Mistral. EU is out of the race for sure. Yeah, and the UK. I'm clumping myself in with the EU. I know we famously left. Sorry, but like Europe as a whole has. This is a 2-horse race. It is China and America, and Europe are making noises and kind of gesturing towards, oh, we're going to become an we're going to become an AI superpower. It's not going to happen. There's not enough money. There's not enough compute. There's not enough electricity. There's this stat going on about there's a data center, or AI data centers in Ireland use up 20% of the national grid of Ireland. I don't know if that's true. I haven't looked into the actual data, but if it is, that's not an AI problem. That is a national grid problem. That's because we need better infrastructure in place. And again, we looked at China's electricity. Let me pull up that. So China electricity graph. I think it's on venture capitalist. This one. I looked at this the other day, which is the power generation. This is from 1985 to 2024. You can see that every other nation on Earth has just kind of gradually added. The US has gone from, I don't know, 3,000 terawatt hours. Would this be? I guess it is. To about 4.5, whereas China's gone from basically 0 to 10. I think they're at 12 now. So they have realized to have a nation which is technologically advanced, which can train artificial intelligence, etc. We need to have the power, and they have been investing in this since, well, the 1980s. Not for AI specifically, but for technology, and we have not. unfortunately. Epipoesis says legitimately impressive. Yeah, go and play around with it. It's good fun. So it's Ministral Web GPU. Very, very cool little technology. And I hope it gets a bit more love. The problem is in the media cycles and in the coverage, it's all about who's got the biggest, best model. It's very brash. It's not about, hey, we've actually created a really kind of lightweight, open source model that you can use to can use in your browser. You can use this locally. That doesn't capture the headlines. It's all about bigger, bigger numbers, more spend, more power, more electricity. So I think this is a very interesting route for Europe to take, which is basically say, hey, look, we can't compete with America and China on electricity, on GPUs. So what we're going to do is focus on edge AI, squeezing down models, making them denser, making them more efficient. So making the algorithms better rather than just relying on more parameters and more compute, so that we can get them onto devices. Because whoever gets them onto the devices, I think, is going to win. And this is how Apple could come back with this. Is if they are, I don't believe they are, but if they are sitting quietly and waiting for this technology to mature so that they can swoop in, deploy them on devices, and become, well, suddenly have artificial intelligence in the hands of how many Apple iPhones are there? Like billions and billions of people on Earth. They could do extremely well. Extremely well. I don't think that's what they're doing. Charitably, though, that could be their plan. Cool. So that's Mistral. Poor Mistral. I did want to talk about this because we talk about. I've put out some videos and I talk about Google and how Google are doing extremely well in artificial intelligence right now. And it hasn't come from nowhere. They were leaders in AI before ChatGPT and OpenAI released, and they got caught on the back foot. So a couple of years ago, they realized like, oh God, we've lost the march to OpenAI, and we need to build back up and we need to take this back. And they have. It looks like with Gemini, the release of Gemini, suddenly people have realized like, oh, Google do AI. And it's like, well, yeah, they've been doing it for years. What they have, which OpenAI don't have, is they own the entire stack. So they have the cloud computing, they produce their own chipsets, TPUs, so they don't have to buy from NVIDIA, don't have to buy GPUs. They have research scientists, they have Google DeepMind, which are like the research scientists for artificial intelligence. They have the application layer, so the ability to deploy artificial intelligence in all of their applications in Gmail, in Google, in Google Images, in Android telephones. They have all of that. They have a huge user base. They basically have everything they need. They also, unlike OpenAI, have a lot of cash, a lot of money. What this allows them to do is what Amazon did, I guess 20 years ago or so. Amazon didn't make any money for a decade. They made no profits for about, I want to say, 12 years. What they were doing was basically choking out the rest of the market. So they entered books. They didn't make any money. They made a loss or they kind of broke even. And they kept bringing in money because they knew that they could choke out traditional book distributors. And then they did this with every other retail industry on earth, basically, and killed off the high street, removed the ability for anyone else to operate just by choking everyone out and not allowing them, and undercutting them for years until there was no competition left, and then Amazon could start to make some money. Google could do the same with artificial intelligence because they have money, they have cash, they're sitting on piles and piles of cash. So they could choke out ChatGPT creators OpenAI, Anthropic, and all the others by not adding advertising. They can be like the pure artificial intelligence where you go when you're fed up with ChatGPT. They can make AI available for free. So you don't necessarily need to get subscriptions. They can do a lot of things that allow them to basically out-sustain the competition. to allow OpenAI to basically die under its own weight. And then once they're the only game left in town, Google can raise the prices, they can add advertising in. So this is the risk here. So I thought there was this conversation going on about it. Gemini winning ensures zero profitability for any other large language model. Google will force every other player into an endless sea of red ink by keeping its model free until they bleed out, and then it will monetize once its monopoly is secured. It's what Amazon did to the whole of retail globally. Google could do with artificial intelligence. That means no one's making money on data center capex. Yeah, so all the people who are spending huge amounts of money on data centers right now will bleed out and die in the markets, while Google just waits and waits and waits, and then 10 years down the line, it's like, okay, now we're going to monetize this and make some money from artificial intelligence because we have killed off all of the competition. So this is a risk. So it is awesome seeing Google enter the market. It's awesome seeing OpenAI realize, like, oh God, we have competition now. But we need to keep this in mind as well, that this could be anti-competitive if Google just keep everything free, don't add advertising, and then just wait it out until OpenAI basically die. The other option here is the Chinese models do this by remaining basically free and open source or very, very low API costs, which undercuts the profit model of companies like OpenAI, of companies like Anthropic. It means that their IPOs that they're planning in 2026 and 2027 are incredibly unattractive. So the funding will start to dry up, the investment won't be there, and they will again collapse under their own weight because the Chinese companies can provide the same thing for basically free. So it's going to be an interesting couple of years in terms of the market dynamics. What this means for you on a daily basis, not that much. Just use the model that works for you, but be aware that there are big shifting elements going on, and that whatever model you use right now may not be around a couple of years from now. What we think of, even though these companies are billions and billions of dollars, they seem too big to fail. We've been there before. This will not be the landscape a couple of years from now, which is exciting, but also a little bit terrifying. It's going to be messy. Have you seen the Guardian article about AGI from the Anthropic guy? No, or maybe, I don't think so. So Guardian from Dario. Oh, this guy, Jared Kaplan. He looks a bit like Dario. Got glasses. Is this one? Oh, Chief Scientist. No, but I will have a look at it and cover it tomorrow. It's a very pretty article. Oh, before I go, I finally sat down yesterday and watched The Thinking Game, and I highly recommend it. So the whole thing is available on YouTube. It's going to start playing. So the whole film, because it's Google. So this is a documentary about DeepMind. So Google DeepMind, and the documentary crew follow them for 5 years. And here's Demis Hassabis with a lot of hair. You can see his hair disappear as the documentary goes on. And to be fair, the size of the things he's working on, I'm surprised it didn't go sooner. And it's absolutely fantastic. I sat down and my partner, my girlfriend, I was like, I'm gonna watch an AI documentary. You don't have to watch it. And she's like, oh yeah, that sounds dull. Started watching it, and then she was riveted. Like, oh, this is really interesting. It's like, yeah, it is. So even if you are not, well, I know you guys are into AI, but even if you have somebody who's not particularly into artificial intelligence, it's a very good documentary. It's very interesting. And it's mainly about Demis Hassabis and his life, but also the running of DeepMind. So there's this, and there's also AlphaGo, and they're both made by the same documentary crew. This is a bit more of a wide-ranging one, and it focuses in particular from around here or so on, there we go, on protein folding, which is what Demis Hassabis went on to win or to share the Nobel Prize for just a couple of years ago. So half the movie is about that. Very, very cool. My favorite part of the movie, absolutely favorite part, is once they basically crack protein solving, and they do it very quickly, a problem that's taken decades. They put their minds to it, and after a year or so, it's like, okay, we're done. After they crack it and basically solve the protein folding problem, they're having a meeting afterwards. It's like, okay, well, what next? And one of the guys in the meeting is like, okay, we've got a few different options. Like, one, we could just kind of brute force and solve all of the proteins. And Domination is like, well, how many is that? And they're like, I don't know, 1 billion, 2 billion proteins. We could probably solve it in a month or so. And Domination is like, yeah, do that. And the guy's like, well, we've got some other options. Like, no, do that. It's like, just solve them all. And they solve every single protein fold or every permutation in about a month. And then they release the data set. They're like, here you go, for free. Go and do some amazing science with it. Very cool. Extremely cool. Because he's a guy who's not really driven by money. There's a point where when he was 15 or 16, he worked for Bullfrog. And you might know Bullfrog because they're the creators of Theme Park, the video game, which I absolutely loved. Let me find if I can find. There we go. This is Domination working on Theme Park. This was before he went off to Cambridge to university, and Peter Molyneux, the head of Bullfrog, basically said to Domination at the time, this is back in the 90s, don't go to university, I'll give you £1 million to not go to university. And Domination was like, no, I think I should. And he went off to study, despite being offered £1 million, despite not coming from a rich background. He's a guy who isn't really very interested in money, but he's interested in solving huge problems, like artificial intelligence, like protein folding, like Go, etc. So it is well worth a watch. It is totally free. It is on the Google DeepMind channel. If you just search The Thinking Game documentary, it should turn up. Highly recommend it. It sounds boring, a documentary about artificial intelligence, but it's not. It's fascinating. A really good documentary. So please go and watch that. We'll give it a watch. Thanks. Awesome. Right. What time is it? I'm going to finish up. Thank you so much, everybody. I will be back tomorrow morning around 10, 11 to go through whatever new news there is. I will cover that Guardian article, so thank you for that. Thank you for sending it over, Lyra. I'll have a look at that. If you are not subscribed, there's a newsletter which has a summary of everything that we've covered. I also add in links, so if you want to get links to the resources. So things like the Mistral model, I'll give you a link to that so you can go and check it out yourself. I'll link in the documentary, etc. Just so you have a bunch of resources that you can check out. So this is today's issue, for example. You can see it's got everything in it. That's a free newsletter, comes out every single day. Just go to aiwithkyle.com and you'll be able to sign up for that. Also, everything goes onto the YouTube channel. So this live is basically the raw material that will be cut up, edited, tidied. All of my babbling will get taken out and it get turned into YouTube videos. So again, that's a much easier way to access specific pieces of information without having to listen to me go off on tangents or call the new ChatGPT onion instead of garlic. If you want the the clean version, then it's going to be over on YouTube. Awesome. I think that is everything. A few other pieces, but that'll do for now. I'll cover them tomorrow. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will be back tomorrow around the same time, and have a fantastic day. Cheers.